This is Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related, and today we're going to be talking about Amazon's brand new cloud streaming service that's been rumored to come out this year, and it's called Project Tempo. Now, I'll be the first to admit that that name sounds completely cool, and I hope that they keep it, but I'm sure they'll be changing it down the road. Either way, this has been something that's been rumored for quite some time now. In fact, I made a video about it before Stadia even launched. This isn't new news. That said, due to a recent New York Times interview, it's been put back into the spotlight, and we're already starting to see a bunch of articles coming out stating that this is the Google Stadia killer. Now, I can't say I'm too surprised that this is the case. In fact, we already know that media tends to throw Stadia under the bus any chance it gets to get some clicks. That's really no surprise whatsoever, but it does annoy me that they're talking up a service we have yet to even see. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that you can't be or shouldn't be excited for Project Tempo. I plan on being there day one myself. That said, I don't want to focus on just the positives of what Amazon can do. A lot of people are already covering that, and I kinda want to focus on the opposite end. I'll save the positives for a separate video down the road, but right now I want to focus on my concerns, and I want to base it based only on the things we've seen already, and that's their games from their Amazon Game Studios. And I say I'm concerned because based on what we've seen so far, I don't think Amazon fully understands games yet. And I say that because we can just take a look at their portfolio of what they're coming out with soon and what they've already cancelled. So to start, I want to take a look at the game that I think has the highest chance of success and the one I'm most personally excited for, and that's their brand new MMO, New World. This is the game we've seen most about so far, other than Breakaway, which is another game you may or may not have heard of, but we'll talk about that after. It's an action-oriented MMO, so the gameplay seems like it would be a ton of fun for me. I'm not a fan of the traditional MMO style of having to wait and sit while you do attacks by pressing keys over and over. The action-oriented gameplay really had me excited, and it was supposed to be a sandbox PvP MMO at that. And I say supposed to because that idea was recently changed, and I'm not talking about a year ago, I'm talking about a few months ago. It went from being an open world PvP sandbox to mainly a PvE game. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's a little bit suspicious about that either. It's kind of odd how they spent 2 to 3 years making an open world survival sandbox MMO with PvP as the spine of the game. 2 quotes which, by the way, came from the development team themselves, only to switch it up and make it a PvE type game. This is a very strange thing to do so late into a development cycle, and I can't help but feel that this is some sort of mismanagement. Not to mention, we know the game's not going to be launching with any raids or dungeons, and that really has me thinking that this game is going to be super light on content, much like Anthem, Fallout 76, and those types of games. Now, I do have to say I'm still somewhat excited simply because the action gameplay looks really cool on an MMO, and I want to try it out for myself to actually judge the game on its own merits, but I can't shake the feeling that this is gonna be kind of a dud. And I'm certainly not the only one who feels this way. There's tons of people who have already expressed their concern over this change, and I'm sure that it's gonna have some sort of effect, whether it's good or bad, but it's definitely leaning into the bad side of things. And then there's the fact that Amazon also announced a Lord of the Rings MMO that's in the works within Amazon Game Studios. That just signals to me that this game isn't gonna get the funding it needs to actually push through it, and I have a feeling that all their investment is gonna be pushed into this new Lord of the Rings MMO simply because of the name. Let's just say that if I had to place a bet right now as to what's gonna happen to New World, well, I see it going along the same lines of Fallout 76, but I'm really hoping it doesn't because I thought they were onto something really special with this game. By the way, I forgot to mention that this game is planned to be launched next month with a $40 price tag, so make of that what you will. And now let's move on to another title that is coming from Amazon Game Studios and is also launching next month, and it's called Crucible. A game we haven't even seen gameplay of, by the way. All we really know about it is that it's a third-person sci-fi inspired shooter that seems to be going the way of the Battle Royale, and there happens to be one player who can influence the game directly as a caster. And that's pretty much all we know, and that it's launching next month. The clip you're seeing in the background is all we've seen of the game, and this was posted back in 2016 when they first announced Amazon Game Studios. I really don't know what else to say other than that I'm not too excited for the game because I really don't know what to even expect from it. They did mention the fact that you'll be able to form an alliance and get out of them freely mid-game, so you have to watch your back, but based on the rest of it, it kinda just reminds me and sounds like the Darwin Project. I should also mention that the player count for this Battle Royale sounding game is 12 players. And with that, I really don't think there's much else to say other than I don't see anyone talking about it online and I see no hype around this game because we've yet to see it whatsoever. Now the next title we're going to talk about is one that actually already got released, and that's the Grand Tour game. It's based off the show and I have to say I absolutely love the idea behind this game. Basically the game consisted of watching the show, and when it came to driving, that's when the gameplay would kick in and you'd get to do the things that they do on the show based on when those episodes released, and it was a really cool concept. And since it wasn't a AAA title, it was priced at $19.99, and if you're a fan of the show, I'm sure you got your money's worth out of it. But that's where my praise stops. The game's sitting at a 52 on Metacritic, it's just okay. Unless you're a fan, I wouldn't recommend you pick it up, there's better racers out there, and if you have $20, you're probably better off spending it on another game. So my summary on the Grand Tour is that it's a really cool idea, it just wasn't executed well enough on the game side of things, and I'm not sure if we'll ever see a follow-up to it, which is kind of a shame. Now the last game we're going to be talking about is one that had public testing available, and it was called Breakaway. It was a multiplayer team-based sports game with a bit of a brawler mixed in between. Now I actually got to play this game, and based on my impressions of what I played throughout, I would probably say the cancellation was a good idea. It just wasn't getting any traction, and for the amount of public testing it had, there really weren't that many people interested. Now I did initially think the idea has potential, it seems like it'd be really fun, but the way it was designed just didn't make it fun to play. But despite that, there was a community that did get into the game. And Amazon has stated that the game may come back into development sometime in the future, but as of right now, it's not in active development anymore. The best way I can describe the game is a mix between Rocket League and a MOBA. It was a cool idea, but the execution just left a lot to be desired, and before the cancellation, they even went on record to say that it was gonna be reworked. I guess they just never found a way to actually make it work. Now another thing that I thought really held it back was the fact that the public testing was only available through a Twitch app, and it's an app that I don't think many people even use on their desktop. Most people just go to twitch.tv to watch the streams, they don't really want to have another launcher specifically just for Amazon games. Thankfully, it does seem that this whole push towards making people download a Twitch app seems to have gone away since New World is going to be launching on Steam, but I just wish that this game didn't have to go through that mess. Now, personally, I thought the game looked pretty good. I'm a pretty big sucker for these cartoon-like visual games, and I think they run well on most machines, which is why most developers are going after that visual aspect, but I do understand the complaint of it starting to look a bit generic. Sadly, I don't think it was just the visuals that represented this game in a poor light. They were really pushing the esport aspect of this game up, and frankly speaking, it just wasn't there. The audience never showed up. If you go to the game's official YouTube channel, 90% of the videos that got posted there were simply esport related, and they all kind of tanked in views. The actual channel itself has only 1,600 subscribers. The videos themselves only managed to average around 200 views apiece, with just a few reaching over 2,000 views. The marketing push for this game was just so questionable. One of the tournaments that they had was called the Breakaway Battle on the High Seas. This was a tourney between two teams that happened to take place on an actual battleship on the seas. Yes, you heard that right. They were playing a PC game on a ship for a tournament, and it didn't really bring in any views. And that's pretty much where my concerns with Amazon Game Studios as a whole lie. It seems like there's a little too many people who are a little too corporate to be making decisions for these games, and they're making some big mistakes in doing so. The games themselves seem cool in concept and idea. I think that they're really awesome and neat, but I feel like some of the decisions being made around them just make little to no sense. For example, the new world switched from a heavily PvP focused design to PvE in the last few months and is launching without any sort of delay. That just screams like it's gonna be an issue at launch. To me, it seems like someone did the math and saw that there's a bigger percentage of players who play PvE focused MMOs and decided to make that call for the team. When it came to Breakaway, why push esports so heavily when the viewership wasn't even there, let alone the player count? And then there's Crucible, a game that's launching next month that we haven't seen any gameplay of. We barely know what it's about based on a description they gave us back in 2016. To me, it seems like Amazon Game Studios is either extremely confident in this game picking up a player base, or they just don't want to cancel another game. Either way, no matter what it turns out to be, launching a game like this is very surprising and not common whatsoever. The only game I can't really talk too much of is the Grand Tour game, and it was just an okay game, nothing special. There are better games at its price point, and there are better racing games to spend your time and money on. It's mainly meant for fans of the show. So this all has me a bit worried about Project Tempo, because how confident are we that they can actually make a better gaming platform than those that we already have? That's a concern a lot of people have about Google, and it's fair to have, but at least Google's run a successful app store. Amazon, on the other hand, I can't say the same about. As of 2019, the Amazon App Store still has less apps than the Windows Store, and that says quite a lot about its position right now in the market. But it would be dumb of me to think that Amazon doesn't stand a chance in this cloud gaming race. They're just as well positioned as Google and Microsoft to make this thing take off. But I'll save that for a separate video. This was to focus on my concerns with Amazon launching a gaming platform based on how they've run and managed their current first-party studio. But if you're wondering why I think Project Tempo could be a huge success, be sure to stay tuned to the channel. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out. And if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. Today's end of video message is going to be a simple question. Do you see yourself using Project Tempo as well as Stadia? Or do you plan on using just one cloud gaming platform for all your needs? Would you be willing to subscribe to 2 services at the same time, or is it just one for you? I'm looking forward to your answers below, so be sure to post them down. As always, thank you for watching this video. This has been Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related. The Gen S community is over 3,700 strong and growing by the day, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.